Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and apparently I misplaced some chili.
Yes, you did. So, so we won't shame the Hat Man just yet. But
No, definitely shame me for this because this was some bomb ass chili. Like this is probably one of the best chilies I've ever made in my entire life, and I literally just left a bunch of it in my freaking car. Just left it there. I don't know how or why, but it's just it's ruined. I think.
well, you said it.
So
Everyone shame the Hat Man.
Shame! 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 Shame!
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So, before we get started, this is an overflood today. Like we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. But one thing I actually wanted to start out with was that a bottle came into Casa del Micah today.
ooh,
My little hole in the wall, and it is a bottle of hentai hot sauce. Now, somebody paid me to review this a while back, which I plan on doing, but we're going to hold off on that for a bit. So I just wanted you guys to know that I actually have this. But what we are going to do is later in the month, we will be launching 3 nights, 4 days. It's basically when we start fulfillment for Inglewood. That's when we're launching it. And we're going to probably start fulfillment this month. Hatman, when do you think you're going to start printing off those posters, by the way?
I just talked to Dad about it because we're basically still kind of shut down at this point, and by shut down I mean we're really not doing anything. But he said that, excuse me, we need to run the poster machines anyway. So test prints probably are going to be next week at the earliest, because we got to still get the material. But good news is we can get the material from a place at the next town over, and it'll basically just be like a 1-day shipping thing. So that's that.
There we go. And then, did you check with the mail? Are we gonna have to ship everything separate, or can we? I don't suppose they're gonna give us a bulk discount, are they?
Media mail is about the only thing that we can get a discount on.
Okay.
As far as like shipping
that,
everything
with
bulk,
the books, that'll be fine then. So
yeah.
that's pretty
And
awesome.
that's the majority of what we're shipping out is just books. So.
Yep. So, but for those of you who ordered T-shirts, your T-shirts have been printed for a while. And yeah, we're going to print these posters out. They're going to look awesome. We want to do posters for the next one, too. I'm going to get together with our questionable weeb friend, Chris, to see what his progress is on it. He's already started on the posters. But the gimmick with the hentai hot sauce is that this is 3 Nights, 4 Days is obviously one of the most anticipated Comicsgate books of the year. Everywhere I go, on any stream, there's always people asking me, when's it going to launch? When's it going to launch? When's it going to launch? We have over 150 people that have signed up for our mailing list for it, too. And I said to myself, you know what? We need to set goals for this. We need to push, and let's be willing to do stupid shit like we always are anyway. So I said to myself, here's what we do. I've been paid to review hentai hot sauce anyway. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If we hit $15,000 within the first 24 hours of that book being live, I will coat a set of wings in this and eat them. So
How big is a set?
Let's say a dozen.
Dozen wings, hentai hot sauce.
Yes, dozen wings.
You guys saw what that did to me.
Yep. Now, I like sweet spicy. And this...
You'll like hentai hot sauce.
Yeah. For those of you playing the home game, I before we even started recording, I opened this. This smells delicious.
It is really good, actually.
Like, I can smell the apple base, I can smell the tomato, but I can also smell the Reaper, and I can smell that ghost pepper more so than the scorpion. Ghost pepper has this weird tinge to it, but I love the smell of it. I really do. Like that. Yeah. Carolina Reaper actually has a deceptively good smell to it, in my opinion, anyway.
That's the thing. It smells more like a red bell pepper.
Yeah.
And it tastes about the same way.
But I guess that's why something in it just murders your tongue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're like,
But no,
this ain't shit. This is just a bell pepper. Oh my god, my tongue is on fire.
Yeah, this if I had a restaurant, this would be one of the hot sauces for the wings. Like, this is great. This just smells wonderful. I'm tempted to dip my finger in it and taste it real quick.
Not before.
Not before.
Not before the campaign.
We'll just leave it there. I'll put it in my kitchen tonight, so I stop looking at it because I've had it on my desk all day.
Yeah, it is good. It is actually really good.
It smells fantastic.
So yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. At some point, getting to taste it.
Even through the pain, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna have plenty of Pepsi too, because Pepsi is great whenever you're eating spicy stuff. Pepsi and milk are kind of the two best things, in my opinion.
And peanut butter.
Peanut butter too, but I don't like the it's a clash of tastes. It just tastes funky.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
All right, so we have an overflood to get to, but another thing I wanted to do real quick is I wanted to congratulate my friend Richard C. Meyer, your boy Zach. A new Jawbreakers book just launched on Indiegogo called Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar. And it's done...
That's number 3, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the 3rd book, but it's a prequel book. And it features, of course, not only your boy as the writer, but also the artwork of Aaron Alfeche, and Aaron is a very, very talented young artist. Obviously the first book was done with John Malin. John's a great artist as well, but I think Aaron is on John's level in regards to skill. And I don't think that John would take offense to that because John always, at least as long as I've known him, has encouraged young artists to keep improving.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he recognizes talent, absolutely.
Yeah. That's one thing I've always loved about CG is like there's no professional jealousy or anything like that.
No,
we
talent
recognize
talent.
How do the youth say it? Game recognize game.
Yeah.
So, also, people have been reading Inglewood. I've actually not all of it for you backers, so don't worry. I haven't sent the whole book to people, but a few other writers in CG have read it. They say it's phenomenal. So, Von Klaus actually asked me. He said, "When did you write this?" I said it was 2 years ago. And he's like, "Yeah, this is really good." He's like, "And think about it. You were good. You were really good 2 years ago." He's like, "There's a reason." And he keeps something in mind here. Von calls 3 Nights, 4 Days a masterpiece. So when you guys read Inglewood, you'll be reading some of my best stuff. When you read 3 Nights, you're reading me at my best. I would actually say that 3 Nights might be the best thing I've ever written.
3 Nights is really good.
Yeah, it's creepy, it's horrifying, got a lot of heart to it too. I think a lot of people are really gonna love it, and a lot of action.
Yeah.
It really is my 13th Warrior in a lot of ways. All right. So enough of that stuff. But real quick, just if you haven't signed up for the mailing list for 3 Nights, it's in the description.
And you get a secret perk with it too.
Yes,
so
you do.
Sure
very, very cool one. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So for politics, I'm assuming we're starting with that?
I guess so. Okay. Well, did we start with it on the
we did
the failed
only
recording?
Had a couple of questions. So that's where we're gonna go then. And by the way, guys, like some of these, if they are answered short, they're probably questions from the previous week. Because you guys gotta keep something in mind. Before I realized that I didn't record this properly, we were almost done with the show.
Yeah. We had like 1 or 2 more questions left to go, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I haven't been recording this whole time.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Daniel Garza wants to know thoughts on post-virus fallout for China. Are we going to bring the hammer down, or will we bow and scrape some more? Also, could you send me a Discord link? Didn't send last time. Email me, Daniel. I will send you the link, but keep an eye on your email. Give it about 10 minutes after you send it, because if I'm awake and I see that email, I'm responding to it immediately, just so you know. As opposed for China, there's going to be a lot of sanctions, and probably not just from us.
Yeah. You got a lot of countries now who are saying that China is going to get fucked for this.
No.
They want an investigation, and rightfully so. Because I mean, what more evidence came out today that they were fudging information?
Yeah.
When does it end?
Well, don't trust China. China is asshole.
China is asshole. Also, don't trust commies.
Indeed. John Weisel wants to know, should the United States adopt Taiwan's method of disease control? They didn't even need to lock down their country or shut down their economy.
Yeah, they had like really, really strict airport screening
Yeah.
for like anyone from international flights that were coming in.
Which is what we should have done.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we should have done. Like I think that keeping out any sort of inbound flights from China was a good move, but yeah, we should have done that really early on. Like as soon as it came on the radar, we should have started screening passengers, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hindsight is 2020. So
Exactly. Yeah, like today it actually came out that Illinois is going to start reopening for business, but in phases.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's wherever your part of the state is phase wise, because basically like phase 1 is like still suffering from the virus and there are more and more cases coming up. Stage 4 is like the curve has flattened, there's only 1 or 2 and they're being treated and so on and so forth, and you have a low death rate. So my region would be in stage 4, meaning that our businesses are going to start reopening very soon, but everybody has to wear a face mask in public.
yeah.
And we can have gatherings of 50 or more people. So churches are going to be able to start reopening and stuff like that. It's just everybody's going to go around looking like John Marston from Red Dead Redemption. Because this is the funny thing. So I, believe it or not, I actually went on a date or had a date recently.
No.
And the rather
You went on a
kind young
quarantine
lady,
date?
huh?
You went on a quarantine date?
Yeah, like yes. So we broke quarantine, but fuck it. There, again, my area has like nobody is sick at this point. There's only like
Michael
1 or
went
2
on an
new
illegal
cases a
date.
week. But she gave me these Star Wars masks, which I thought was really cool. You know, May the 4th and all that. The problem is that she is a very small woman, and I am very much not a small man. So they don't fit on my head. So, being the sleeveless one, what I did was I dug through my entire wardrobe to find a shirt that still had sleeves. And I cut one of them off. So I literally just tie it around my face and use that as a mask. Which, according to the police, is perfectly fine. That was actually something that the governor recommended. He said, if you didn't buy a mask, just find an old t-shirt, cut a sleeve off of it, and tie it around your face. And I'm like,
Oh my
I'm not
God.
voting for you, but I like that idea.
He just advocated for sleeveless comics, huh?
Hell yes. But anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Illinois reopening. I think that it's
Yeah.
and I think the fact of the matter is that Pritzker, being, even though he's an asshole, did understand that, you know, you can't keep Illinois shut down the way that it is, because
Yeah.
everywhere south of Chicago barely has any COVID cases. You know, it's
Yeah.
not fair for the entire state to be shut down when Chicago are the ones that are fucking up. You know?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I think North Carolina, they're expected to start reopening on the 8th, which is this Friday. At the time of recording, this Friday.
And I know Tennessee has already reopened. My buddy Winger actually mentioned that.
But see, North Carolina is going to be opening up in phases too. So, you know, I think the first phase is like clothing stores and some other non-essential businesses are going to be allowed to reopen. They're still going to have the same sort of like one-way aisles and one entrance point, one exit point in the stores. Gatherings of 10 or more people are still forbidden, that sort of thing. But, you know, if the curve stays flat after that, then they go to phase 2, and then, you know, more places are allowed to open. You know, gatherings of 50 or more people are going to be allowed, and so on and so forth. So it's incremental too, but we'll see what happens. And I don't know if we would at least our business would fall under clothing. Technically, it should, but don't know for certain because at least the production facility is not like a retail clothing store, but our retail store is primarily for clothing. So I don't know. I don't know the legalities behind it. I am not a lawyer.
Nope, you are a hat man.
I am definitely a hat man.
So, next question comes from Koopa's Revenge Home. It says, after the DNC collapses after this election, will the schools finally be honest about them basically being a group of thugs throughout history? No.
No, not in the slightest.
No. No. Not going to happen.
No. I don't even think the DNC is going to collapse after this election. I give it a couple more.
They're gonna lose, but
again,
that doesn't mean stay home.
No. Mm-mm. Do not assume that victory is guaranteed.
Yeah, there is no such thing as an assured victory.
Vote like you're about to lose.
Every time. But yeah, like there's it's never gonna. No, that's not gonna happen.
Yep.
Leonardo Juan wants to know, why do alt-righters think that white people need to accept identity politics in order for the white race to survive? Because they're idiots.
Because it's funny, I was actually having this conversation earlier today. Because it goes back on. It goes back to basically what Hitler was arguing about oppressor versus oppressed, more or less. It's reverse SJWism. That, white people are actually the oppressed group, and every other race, even though they're inferior, are somehow oppressing white people. Yeah,
it's not exactly logically consistent.
No, it's absolutely not. But it's essential for that because it does go back to the us versus them sort of politics, or bourgeoisie versus proletariat.
Yeah, there's not a lot of differences there.
No,
at
there
least
really
in the broad strokes. You get into the specifics. There's obviously differences between fascism and communism, but
absolutely.
But there's a lot of similarities too. A lot of people don't really forget that, like, the horseshoe theory is specifically a libertarian or authoritarian scale. That's it.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people put too much weight on it. Well, when you really get into these things, like, there's really all these differences. Yes, that's why one's on one side of the horseshoe and the other is on the other side of the horseshoe. Shut the fuck up.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Anyway, Ultimate Agent 25 wants to know thoughts on communities like BreadTube making excuses for a failed system. Well, BreadTube, people will remember the video I did, and somewhere Gojira just groaned that I'm bringing this up again, but deal with it. Was the whole YouTube is the culture war is a grift. I was talking about BreadTube too. I didn't call them out by name, but they were people I was thinking about. You have to keep something in mind. If you have a channel with 100,000 subscribers or more, and you are making videos regularly, whether it's live stream content or full-on videos, if you do premieres on top of that, you're getting super chat money. You're hearing me toss my shoes across the room, by the way. You're getting super chat money. You're getting all this other stuff. You're getting ad revenue,
Patreon bucks,
Patreon, all this other stuff. I mean, just with Micah and the Hatman alone, on our end, we make enough money from donations and such, and ad revenue and all this other stuff in my channel to basically call it a part-time job. It's basically just one avenue of what Sleeveless Comics is becoming, know? And even if we went full-on company, we would still do the Micah and the Hatman podcast every week. It would probably just be a lot more entertainment-oriented, But anyway, it's a grift. A lot of them really don't believe the things they say. A lot of them are hopeful people and would like to see a world where there is no hunger and blah, blah, blah. But it's never going to happen.
No.
Utopian pursuits are ridiculous. And
Utopian pursuits always lead to dystopias.
yes, and I always thought Peter Hitchens had the best statement. He actually addressed me specifically and amended it a little too. Is that utopia is only reached across the sea of blood, and then one thing he added in there when I had a back and forth with him on Twitter was that, and you never get there.
Yep.
So, and that's basically the truth of it, is you never get there. And they don't really understand that, and that's the problem. You know, they wish that this glorious, amazing future could happen, and that it can happen with humans, and it can happen through government. But there's nothing that's really that different now than then. You know, even Star Trek, they like to say it's post-scarcity. No, it's not.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, you look at the universe of Star Trek, bull fucking shit that it post-scarcity. You know, why the fuck do you think there's so many wars? You know? And again, watch Deep Space Nine. It's the best Star Trek series. Sisko is the best captain. It's not even close. Let's and for those who don't believe me, people are gonna say Picard. First off, fuck all that. Second, here's why. Why Sisko is superior to Picard. Are you ready for this, Hatman?
Fire away.
Q. How much time did Q spend fucking with Picard?
I don't know. I didn't watch The Next Generation.
Twice in one episode, partner. Dear God, I have to shame you again.
Go for it.
Everyone shame to Hatman!
Shame! 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 Shame!
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Anyway, so
I've never had an interest. So,
but Q.
I was always a Star Wars guy.
Q is, well, I'm a Star Wars guy too. But Q terrorizes Picard for season after season after season. Take a wild guess how many times he has an interaction with Benjamin Sisko.
Once.
Once. And Sisko punched him in the face. Benjamin Sisko is a bad motherfucker. And here's another thing to keep in mind. Worf was afraid of him. Klingons were scared of Benjamin Sisko.
Isn't Sisko the dude, or played by the same guy who was the principal in American History X?
The very same.
Oh, man. He's a badass.
Hell yeah, dude. He's a great actor. He was, like...
What is his name? I have to give proper respect.
To the Google. Let's see here.
Avery Brooks.
Yeah, Avery Brooks. He is amazing in that movie,
Avery Brooks
too.
is a badass.
The speech he gives to Derek in prison after Derek's raped.
Yep.
Is so
Anything
fucking
you've
powerful.
ever done made your life any better.
Yep. Avery Brooks is actually like who I based Elijah's father off of in Inglewood. So people are really gonna like him. But he's so good, man. I love Avery Brooks. Oddly enough, he hasn't done much since 2011. You know, he does a lot of like voicing audio books. Lives a very private life. You know,
well, hey, he deserves it.
Yeah, he's so good though.
Yeah.
Finally, oh wait, no, that's the last politics question. All right,
Oh,
on to the fun stuff.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's get started on entertainment. I love entertainment. So, Leonardo Juan starts us off. Wants to know thoughts on Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal. Not really my thing. I'm glad to see Gendy still doing stuff and getting work and all that, but it's not really the kind of thing I'm usually into.
Yeah, original answer when we recorded this was I have no idea what this is. I've seen a little bit of stuff since then. It's not really my cup of tea either.
Yeah.
But then
Hardboiled.
again, Samurai Jack wasn't my cup of tea at first, and I ended up really enjoying that. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Hardboiled wanted to know. He said his ideal cast for J.J. Abrams' JL Dark had Zatanna as Alexandria Daddario, Etrigan as Andy Serkis, Dr. Fate as Donald or Kiefer Sutherland. Our castings.
So we said Donald Sutherland's a bit too old
old.
for Dr. Fate.
And I really don't like Kiefer as Kent Nelson. I suggested Oded Fair.
Yeah.
Because he voiced him in JLA. Or Justice League, rather. And JLU by extension. And was phenomenal. Hatman, did you go and look up that sequence I told you about since then?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Yes. Great.
He is an amazing Dr. Fate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Who did I suggest for Dr. Fate? I think it was Clancy Brown.
Yeah, you did select Clancy Brown, which would also be a pretty good pick. And then Etrigan.
I didn't have anyone for Etrigan.
Etrigan, if I recall correctly, I had suggested as Jonathan Rhys Meyers, who played Henry VIII in The Tudors. Actually, you know who else would be a really good Dr. Fate? Charles Dance.
That'd be really interesting. How old is Charles Dance?
He's in his 60s.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he crossed. No, he's 73.
Oh, wow. He looks like he's in his
70s.
He looks like he's in his late 50s. Like he ages very well. Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, he had suggested, or Harbaugh had suggested Andy Serkis. I think that Jonathan Rhys Meyers would be a much better Etrigan because Etrigan doesn't age. Jason Blood doesn't age. Though I also suggested if you're up for race swapping, another really good Etrigan would be why am I forgetting his name? Stringer Bell. Idris Elba.
Yeah.
But if you're not, definitely Jonathan Rhys Meyers. No, I would rather have Andy Serkis as Constantine. I think Andy Serkis would be a great Constantine. Zatanna? Who did we pick for Zatanna?
I think Kat Dennings was who we had in mind.
Kat Dennings was who we had in mind. And then there's a couple other people. We both said keep Swamp Thing as Swamp Thing. Because the guy who plays him, Derek Mears, did an amazing job as Swamp Thing. That dude can act. You wouldn't think that a big man like that could act the way that he does, but he is really fucking good. And then who's the other JL Dark person that kind of ties it together? He mentioned it in the chat, so let me check it real quick. Oh, he didn't mention Constantine or Swamp Thing. So yeah, that answers it. So yeah, that's our picks definitely. I'm trying to think though, is there anybody else in Justice League Dark? I feel like someone's missing. Deadman. But you could really have anybody play Deadman. You know?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just... Well... Deadman, you would need someone with a lot of good body language.
And a sense of humor,
so maybe like Doug Jones? I don't know about sense of humor, though, for Doug Jones, but...
Doug would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But is usually a younger guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really don't know.
I don't know either. Taron Egerton, maybe?
Could work. There's other ones there's other characters like from that spectral, supernatural area in DC you could also introduce that could like show up. I mean, the Spectre. I've always wanted to see the Spectre on film. I mean, hell, who was his original host? Jim Corrigan. That would be one that Clancy Brown could play really well. Would be Jim Corrigan. So I'd watch the hell out of that. Then again, man, I've always wanted a Spectre series. I've been surprised that they've never done it. You know, it'd be a really good like HBO or DC Direct or whatever series, kind of like Swamp Thing was. So, and they had already they already introduced Blue Devil and the Phantom Stranger and a couple other characters too. What I was really looking forward to that they didn't get to though, fucking Anton Arcane. A lot of people talk about how sadistic the Joker is. Anton Arcane makes the Joker look like a fucking plaything. Anton Arcane is a sick motherfucker. He's demented. He's probably the most evil person in DC. That says something. So, alright, next question. Zachary Loggins wants to know, if the Marvel Netflix shows had continued, where do you think the stories would go and what villains would they have, especially for the Punisher? Who did we say with the Punisher? I had suggested another mob boss in Silvermane.
I said possibly the Enforcers.
Yeah, the Enforcers would have been an interesting idea too. Barracuda as well. Played by Quentin Rampage Jackson. He'd be perfect for Barracuda. I said either that or base it on the Slavers. Because the original rumor of season 2 of The Punisher was that they were going to do the Slavers. And then season 3 was what ended up being season 2. That was the original rumor. But the Slavers, I imagine, was probably a hard sell to Disney. So, but even then, man, I want to see a live action adaptation of the Slavers. The Slavers, for those who don't know, is not just... I think it's the best Punisher story of all time. All respect to Chuck Dixon and all the other great Punisher writers that there have been throughout time. The Slavers is not just one of the greatest... or not just the greatest Punisher story ever. It's one of the greatest comic book arcs of all time. It's incredible. I would actually go so far as to say it's the best thing that Garth Ennis ever wrote. And I say that as somebody who's read through The Boys, who's read a lot of other stuff by Garth Ennis. I even like Crossed, as sick as it is. Hatman can affirm me on that one.
We've talked about Crossed before.
The only thing we have to say about Crossed at this point, salt. Yeah. So, I had a feeling you'd laugh at that.
No. It's one of those things where I shouldn't laugh at it because of that part of the book.
It shouldn't
and just
be
how
funny.
Twisted it is.
But it kind of is funny in a very gallows humor sort of way.
It's not even gallows humor way. It's one of those... It's a sense of humor where, like, you watch a movie like House of a Thousand Corpses, and someone asks you what it's about, and you're like, it's a love story.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sort of sense of humor.
Or calling The Eclipse the beach episode.
Yes.
So... But anyway, the Slavers, I think, is Garth Ennis' best work. it's an incredible story. And you see Frank. It's so interesting because in a weird way you see everything about Frank Castle as a man. And you do realize he is truly a hero. He really is. He is breaking the law aside. In a sense, he is a true tribute to the United States Armed Forces. I think that's why so many Army guys wear his patch. You know, the Marines especially, and because he was a Marine if I remember right, but yeah, he was a Marine captain. I had to think about that for a second. But he you see kind of like how good of a man he is in that story, but you also see how vicious he can be. It's interesting. It's sort of that story arc is to the Punisher what the last episode of season 2 of Justice League Unlimited is for Batman. Now, have you seen that one too, Hatman? I have to ask before I explain this. It's the one where Terry McGinnis finds out who his real father is.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was about to ask. If that was the Batman Beyond episode.
Yeah. Think of the point where he's sitting with Ace, and how that tells you everything you need to know about Batman. How good of a man he is.
Yeah.
The Slavers is the exact same way. You see everything about who Frank Castle truly is. You know? And that's what I really like about it. It's beautiful. And I think that John Bernthal really would be the right guy to portray it. I think Tom Jane could do that arc too. I think Tom Jane could do it really well.
Oh.
But I still would like to see Bernthal do it.
Was it test footage from way back when for like another Thomas Jane Punisher film? It was like just I think a 10-minute
There's a short
sequence.
film called Dirty Laundry.
Yes,
It's him and Ron Perlman that are in that.
Yes.
And it was actually a short film that Marvel approved. And
it's
great because he kills a attempted rapist with a whiskey bottle. And they actually use, I think they actually use music from the Punisher film, which had a great soundtrack.
If you guys haven't seen that, go watch it.
It's for free on YouTube.
It's really awesome.
Yeah. It was a little unfortunate that Jane could not reprise the role. They originally approached him to do the series, but he just, it was a scheduling conflict. He couldn't get it done. I wish he had chosen to do it just because one of the things he ended up doing instead was the Predator movie.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
No, we don't.
But
autism does not let you translate alien languages.
We did get John Bernthal as the Punisher though.
Yeah,
and
he
I
was
think
really
he's just that fits him like a glove.
The speech on the top of the rooftop.
Yes.
Holy shit.
That is
he
amazing.
And Charlie
I
Cox,
love that
man.
episode. I love that episode.
Yeah, it's a beautiful episode. So where do I think I think that the overall theme would have been a power vacuum. Like for Luke Cage, I think that would be, I hate to steal a Spider-Man villain, but I would have introduced Tombstone as somebody trying to move in on that turf. For Punisher, Silvermane, I think would be one, with Barracuda as an enforcer. For Iron Fist, I would tell an actual fucking Iron Fist story. And then Daredevil is the tough one. Because you have Fisk in the background in prison again. There is that power vacuum. What would you introduce? Who would you introduce? I mean, you have to do Bullseye.
Yeah, I mean that was set up. You can't not follow through with Bullseye.
Yeah. I think that there's two things I probably would consider doing. Bullseye, obviously. Honestly, what I would truly love to do is have him cross over with one of the main heroes in the MCU films. I would have loved to have a Spider-Man Daredevil episode. That would be fucking awesome. Because the two of them share a lot of villains, for those who don't know. The Kingpin being the primary. But, oh, I know who I would introduce. The Rose. The son of Wilson Fisk. Have him be the puppet master behind Bullseye.
Interesting.
I love the Rose. And I think that's why I would love to have a Spider-Man crossover. Is because the Rose is technically a Spider-Man villain. But he's the son of Wilson Fisk. So he can work for either war. So, hell, I would love to see a Spider-Man Daredevil movie. That'd be so cool. Not to mention, if you think about it, the two of them have two of the most faithful costumes in the MCU. But anyway, I think that's where we would probably go with it. The general theme would be that there would be a power vacuum in the crime world because of the Kingpin being behind bars again, and we would want to focus on that to basically tell this story about that exactly, and then of course you could conclude it with another Defender story. With Jessica Jones, I think it's just safe to say I don't know who we would have as the villain, but we would make sure she stops sucking. I didn't even watch season 3. I was just over it. I was like, this is fucking stupid.
I only watched the first season of it.
It was bad. People try to tell me that Iron Fist was like the worst of all the Netflix series. Iron Fist was just boring. Like, Jessica Jones was just hard to watch.
You did not like Jessica Jones. You didn't really anyone.
I really didn't.
In that at all.
Like
even Patsy, you didn't like her at all.
No, none of them were very good at all. They all just were miserable characters.
The only one that you actually gave even a little bit of a damn about was Luke Cage, ironically enough.
Yeah, I love Luke Cage. Luke Cage is one of my favorite Marvel heroes of all time.
Yeah. So
that's one thing that always struck
right
me.
Luke Cage.
Why did Bendis never push to just do a Luke Cage book?
Because Bendis.
Okay, fair point. Let's move on. Because we could probably talk about that for hours on what we would do with those characters.
Oh yeah.
Never gonna happen. So, Eclectic 95 wants to know if the societal pressures in Japan were not the way they were. Do you think genres like isekai, harems, and slice of life wouldn't be as prominent? Yeah, I would agree with that.
Probably.
Ultimate Agent wants to know thoughts on John Campea being a simp for the upcoming female-centric Star Wars show. I have no idea who John Campea is, nor do I care.
I don't know who that is either, and yeah, I don't care about the...
Yeah. Samurai Bear wants to know, why was the 2006 Batman cartoon so hated? Yet it wasn't as good as the animated series, but it had its moments. Which one is that?
I think that was the one just called The Batman.
The Batman, yes. Yeah, I remember...
That was the one that did, a bunch of different villains, new villains, and the ones that they had that were classic had their looks changed by, a lot. The freaking Joker. I think Joker was voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, even.
Yeah, and he looked kind of like a Rastafari.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, it's got a very unique art style to it, almost horror influenced in a lot of ways.
No, maybe this isn't the one that had a whole bunch of new villains. Maybe it was the series afterwards that had.
No, this had a ton of
all the new
redesigns.
villains.
I remember that because Killer Croc looked way different.
This is the redesign one, but this is not the one I'm thinking of that had all the. I think it was Batman Brave and the Bold had.
Yeah, you're probably thinking Brave and the Bold. Brave and the Bold was the Golden Age type.
Yeah, because it had like almost a totally different rogues gallery.
Yeah. No, the Batman kind of felt like a really exaggerated version of the Bruce Timm work. So, but yeah, it just, for some reason, it just didn't catch on. I watched a little bit of it, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't as good as what Paul Dini and others were doing on the original Batman animated series, so I just couldn't really get into it. Bob Fetta wants to know, what do you think of Captain Kirk in Mortal Kombat? His fatalities would be Kirk speeches. Nah. No, I want, there's rumors that Bruce Campbell is going to do Ash as a guest character.
I hope so.
I would really like that. I just finished Ash vs. the Evil Dead last week. Great show. A lot of fun. If you like the humor of Army of Darkness, but the gore of the first two Evil Dead movies, like this is your happy medium, basically. It's so good. So much fun. It's not deep in any way, shape, or form, but Bruce Campbell's Bruce Campbell. He's hilarious. You know? He's legit one of the funniest guys in entertainment. But anyway, the I'm trying to think of who else I even want in the next season. There's going to be new story DLC. I know Holy Ninja Toe thinks that it actually is going to be Spawn kills the MK universe, in which case I fucking hope so. But the fact that they have another story coming means we get a lot of Keith David as Spawn. And that's reason to be happy. So I will review it. I'm not going to recommend the game to people, but I will still review it. I might even stream it when it comes out for everyone. So just so people can see it. Entertainment. An Angry Green Boss wants to know, can a crime story set in a medieval setting work? Well, I have one answer to that. Freaking Robin Hood! Robin Hood's a crime story set in the Middle Ages. Of course you can. Hatman, did I just kill your ears?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. But no, Robin Hood. Robin Hood's a crime story. Of course you could do that. No problem at all. I love Robin Hood.
Just as long as it's not the crappy Robin Hood movie that they made a couple years back.
Which one? The one with Russell Crowe?
That was awful. No, the one... It was the one literally just a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. I know the one you're talking about. One thing that I have to say,
Jamie
though...
Foxx was in it.
Yeah. I'm surprised that his Robin Hood movie wasn't considered a sequel to Kingdom of Heaven. Just saying. Love Ridley Scott, but I never watched that movie. But yeah, definitely something you can do. Crystal Hydra wants to know, how would you write an alien invasion story in a fantasy setting? Think War of the Worlds versus Dungeons and Dragons. I wouldn't. I don't like that. I don't.
I wouldn't either because it would be ridiculously one-sided.
Yeah. It's like, if you're mixing your sci-fi and your fantasy, think of it like a Reese's cup. The sci-fi needs to be your chocolate. The fantasy needs to be your peanut butter, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
the
why
thing about it
something
is
like
too.
Bright or something like Shadowrun works the way that it
Hmm.
is because the setting is science fiction. You know, that's the grounding bit. You know, if you try to do
Yeah.
things the other way around, it's just kind of awkward. You know,
The other thing about it is you you risk going full Ancient Aliens, and don't go full Ancient Aliens.
no, don't.
You leave that shit to the coked out
No,
History Channel.
Lovecraftian stuff lends itself better to that. Alternate dimensions does. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what Forgotten Realms is. You know, there's going to be a lot of that sort of a feeling with Baldur's Gate 3, I have no doubt. Swordsman 100 wants to know, have we checked out Streets of Rage 4 yet? I've watched some
No.
gameplay, it looks fun. But I was never a Streets of Rage guy. I was always a Final Fight guy.
Yeah. I instead discovered that Castle Crashers Remastered is apparently a thing, and it was really, really cheap, so I picked it up.
Castle Crashers is awesome.
I love Castle Crashers, man.
Brian Gilmartin wants to know, do you have any additional thoughts on moral relativism in entertainment and storytelling? It seems to be everywhere. Yeah, it ruins stories.
Yeah, didn't we just talk about that in regards to The Last of Us 2?
Yeah, we'll just put it this way. When it comes to story theory, Joseph Campbell's the way to go. Hero with a Thousand Faces, it works the best. It's more in line with human nature and the way that life is and how we progress. Moral relativism. The only places that I really think it really works is mob stories, but even or crime dramas. But even then, there's usually a good guy. There's usually a hero.
Yeah, well,
You know.
I would argue that, and this is my experience because yes, the one I'm writing is very, morally ambiguous. You need to have a character that is grounded and your moral rock who does not change. And you need to have a clear intent of who is meant to be in the wrong. Like even if you're like, yeah, people can argue like this character, is actually the good guy, but you need to intend for them to either be, on the right path or the bad guy. Like let people argue over it, but your intent has to play a part there.
Ultimate Agent says, in CW's Batwoman, Batman broke his one rule. Your thoughts?
So then he's not Batman anymore.
Yeah. So, don't care. Show looks like shit. Bob Fetta wants to know, what would you do with Doctor Who if you had complete control of it? I'd end it.
I would not end it. I would stop the current arc, and I would go back and I would give Paul McGann, the Eighth Doctor, a full series, and base them off of the audio dramas if need be. But I would give him his due because he's a brilliant actor and he got fucked.
Oh, there you go. Tyler Jorgensen asks, if you were to write a fantasy world, what era of time would it be set in? By the way, if you haven't already, please check out the mailing list for 3 nights, 4 days on Indiegogo. Hint, hint. Plus, there's the Misadventures of Blarg coming sometime in the future, too.
Stay tuned to what I'm working on.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
By the way, somebody actually asked, Ancestor Empire did, since we're talking Crusades, Deus Vult and all that. How would I, so this is a me question, make a movie about the first crusade into Jerusalem, since I was disappointed with the Kingdom of Heaven and their take on the third? First off, Kingdom of Heaven is actually the second crusade, not the third. It's the end of the second crusade. How would I make a film based on it? Oh, God. That's a good question. Because you're asking a horror writer that. Oh, man. I don't think I could ever make it. Because I would have to show Muslims as the bad guys. Because the Crusades are a reaction to Muslim aggression.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I recall correctly, what had happened was that, pilgrimages to the Holy Land were not uncommon during that time frame, before the First Crusade. But there were more and more reports coming back to the papacy that the aggressions of these Muslims were affecting these pilgrimages. People were dying, things like that. And it's at that point that they wanted to go after it. The problem that I run into is my first, the one thing that I would want to sort of explore, or is what I already am exploring in 3 Nights, 4 Days about absolution through war. And I wouldn't want to do that again, because I would feel like artistically I would be retreading old water. But one thing I will say is I would try to be historically accurate to the origin of the war. And anytime I tell a story like that, I don't like to demonize the people, except for people that were actually truly corrupt historically. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would never get the budget for it, because that would be a big budget movie. And I'd never get it because of the simple fact I would have to portray Muslims as bad guys.
Yeah. You'd have to go into pretty, I don't know how you'd be able to do it as a movie, maybe a TV series, because you'd have to set it up with the Byzantines and everything too. Mm-hmm. Because there's
a lot to it.
Oh yeah, the freaking caliphate, taking over the Middle East and then moving into Turkey. There's a lot.
Yeah. Black Knight Rex wants to know. Sorry, we got to move on. Thoughts on Square Enix stating they will no longer try to deviate from the story of FF7 for the rest of the parts. I think it's a wise decision. I think that they listen to their fans, and I think that's good for them to do. The Time Jannies have become a meme, the Time Janitors, and they're a funny meme. And in the game, I really like this idea of fate not truly having a hold of the characters, that anything could happen. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of people who bought Final Fantasy VII Remake are not open-minded to change, because that's not why you play remakes. A lot of people who play remakes are purists. And in being purists, they're going to want basically the original game brought into the modern day. The first 2 Resident Evil remakes are perfect examples of that. And those are games that stand the test of time, whereas Resident Evil 3 Remake, though a good game, will definitely not be held in the same regard. Oddly enough, the original Resident Evil 3 is not held in the same degree as Resident Evil 2. So, I think it's smart. You have to listen to your fans. You have to. And I think that if they keep it strictly to what they originally planned, I think that's a good thing. There's also talk that they're going to be releasing more elements, parts of it more often as downloadable content, as opposed to another third of the game and then another third of the game. So instead of 2 more big parts, you're probably going to get 4 more medium-sized parts, which I'm perfectly fine with. But it looks like they're going to be telling that story over the course of 4 years. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. What do you think, Hatman? I know you're not a Final Fantasy VII guy, but from the outside in, how does it look?
I have not really paid attention to people's complaints about the game. I don't know the story. I don't know. So I don't really have an opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Nick White wants to know, how is copyright abused? Well, you claim to use something that's not yours. Your intellectual property without permission from the original person who owns it. So let's say that Elijah Wallace as a character showed up in a comic, and I did not give express permission for that to happen. I could sue that person for trying to copyright to profit off of my copyright because I was not compensated for the use of my property. In which case, Elijah Wallace as a character is my property. And that sounded incredibly racist because he's a black character, but you get my meaning,
Yeah. Intellectual property.
Yeah.
You create it, you own the rights to it.
Yeah, so you can't just use it without people's permission.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
How it's being abused in this sense is the DMCA, as it stands, it is extremely not malleable, but it's very, very easily abused. And I hate using that term. And how is this abused? So someone, even they can just purport to be a copyright holder for something, but if they actually do own, the rights to whatever you've got, say like you're running this is a common one. You're running a YouTube video with ads on it, so you monetize it and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's critiquing a trailer for a new video game. Mm-hmm. And, company does not want you using their trailer for whatever reason. It could be because, they don't like your criticism, or, they just don't want anyone talking about it, whatever. They can say, oh, well, we'll copyright strike this with DMCA because we own the rights to that trailer. The problem is, if you're commentating over it, that's considered fair use, because you're either offering a transformation of the IP, the intellectual property, or you're offering commentary on it, which are both protected under copyright law.
Yeah, so let's use that as another example with Elijah. So let's say that whenever Inglewood comes out, somebody does a video review of it. As long as they are not posting the entire comic page to page, they are well within their rights to commentate and review that comic. Yeah, just as long as it's not just like, they can even spoil it if they want to. But as long as they're not posting the entire thing, then that's fair use. They can do that.
Yeah.
And we will probably see anti-CGers nitpick Inglewood to death.
Yeah.
And it will be as petty as everyone expects it to be.
Yeah.
But
we would be abusing copyright.
Yeah.
We would be abusing copyright if we took it down because we didn't like their review. Yeah. And so we own the rights to these characters and these images. And that's what some people have done on YouTube. This person is criticizing my channel, and I'm the owner of my image, so I'll copyright strike them for it. And YouTube and Twitter, Google, all them err on the side of caution. They take it down, and then they issue all the legalese. Like, okay, we're taking this down because we received a claim. Now it's up to you to settle it, which is kind of bullshit, and it allows for the system to be abused, because especially when it comes to revenue, because statistics show like the first couple of days that a video is up is the most profitable days for it. And if someone copyright strikes it, you lose that revenue, and it can take up to 30 days before legally they are bound to respond to a counterclaim.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's nonsense. DMCA either needs to be stricken or greatly revised, because it was made at a time where pretty much everyone who was involved in the drafting of it had no idea of what the internet was capable of, or how to make money off of it. And two, we're at a junction now where people are literally able to make a living on the internet, which is something that was largely not a thing when the DMCA was drafted. So it needs to be, at the very least, updated with that in mind.
We're kind of getting away from the question here.
Yeah.
You know, he asked how copyright is abused, not how copyright protections are abused.
Well, it's still a lot of the same thing, because that's largely how it's being abused now, is with the DMCA, and unless you want to talk about how Disney is responsible for some of the bullshit copyright laws because they want the rights to Mickey Mouse indefinitely.
You know, it is what it is. I mean, it does protect smaller creators such as myself, though, and others.
It does,
violation.
but yeah, it's rife for abuse too.
Well, and just about anything with it is. It's just
Yeah.
there's definitely some things that could be amended. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's keep moving. Two more questions.
2 more.
No, actually, only one, because Hardboiled repeated his question when we told him not to. Anyway, for our last question, Jonathan Stein wants to know, with everything going on with The Last of Us 2, do you think game developers are going to take time to review what they're putting out or double down on stupid? Depends on the developer. I mean, we just talked about the Square Enix doing the opposite of that, not doubling down and saying, okay, you know, we work for you guys. We want you guys to be happy. You know, we've gotten a lot of compliments as well as criticisms. We're going to take those criticisms to heart, and we're going to, you know, the next game will be even better than the last one, and we're going to listen to you. That's how a good business operates.
You see that mostly from Japanese developers, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. Like, this is something we've said before. It's largely Western, usually American studios that have this, or Canadian studios that have the woke problem.
Well, I think a large problem with it, too, is how in bed they are with the gaming press.
Yes.
Like, however close the studio is with the press is going to, you know, say, you know, the Last of Us 2 leaks. And, you know, the press goes all in to protect Naughty Dog, basically.
Oh yeah,
you know, says, well, everyone who is bitching about this game is just a man child. You know, they're upset about the SJW stuff, and it's all unfounded. And you know that's going to embolden Naughty Dog and say, actually, no, we didn't fuck up. You know, it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we're not out of touch.
Well, it goes even further than that. Like they make the dumbest excuses. Like Jason Schreier, somebody apparently told him that somebody hacked a previous Naughty Dog game and used it to access their servers. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, and you believed that? Like, and he actually put that on social media. I'm like, how fucking stupid are you?
I've seen stuff like that too. Like, they installed spyware and were able to record all these builds. That's why they have access to all these builds. It's not them playing them. It's them recording Naughty Dog employees playing them. Like that, Occam's razor would cut your throat with that.
Yeah, it's like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. It is. But no, I think it does depend on how in bed they are with the gaming press. Because, of course, they're always going to blame any sort of stuff on the quote-unquote gamers. You know, it's another gamer moment, and they're the bad guys after all. They're so mean, and they hate everything. They can never be satisfied. And, you know, that allows these studios to go, like, actually, you know what? Fuck them. But, well, let me give an example of the opposite end of that. EA and DICE got reamed by the press for Battlefront 2. And they also ended up getting reamed by the community, too. And they ended up doing good. They ended up turning that game around pretty much completely. And it's apparently one of the best redemption arcs in gaming history now.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, there's the other end of it, too. You know, they'll do the right thing, but only if there's that level of pressure. But that's the thing. You can't let up either. Even if the gaming press is saying like, no, you're a whole bunch of whiny babies and whatnot, don't let up. If you know somebody is doing something wrong, you or the consumer, you have the right to a decent product.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trying to think if there's really anything to say beyond that. I mean, the big thing for me is just, you know, whenever a company doubles down on those sorts of things, they don't deserve your money. You shouldn't double down on a blatant mistake, you know? It'd be one thing if nothing wrong had happened, but if you're telling a story like as stupid as The Last of Us 2 is, you know, that just makes me go, you know, and people are reacting this negatively, and you're trying your best to make yourself look good. Like Neil Druckmann's like, oh, I cried over it. I'm like, why? Because it was that bad? Some artists are so far up their own ass, they don't realize they make money off of their art. If you want to make art for you, duct tape a banana to a wall and fuck off. But don't be surprised when somebody comes up and eats it. Where did this whole art for me thing come from? It's so self-absorbed. I don't know. People are strange. Well, Hatman, that was the last question.
That was it.
You know, for an overflood, we actually didn't go as long as I thought we would. So
No, it didn't have that many questions between both shows, but I think that's because we've been answering a lot more lately.
This is true. All right, folks, we are going to go ahead and take off. Once again, do not forget to sign up for the mailing list for 3 nights, 4 days in the description of this video. We will be back this coming Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, so set your clocks and your calendars. We will be returning for sure. Hatman, any final words?
Yeah. Apparently I ruined some bananas alongside that chili too, so
Jiminy Christmas.
now I'm doubly upset.
Well, I've shamed you enough, so I will just go let you live in your shame. So, on that note, my name is Micah Curtis.
But I'm Alex Baldwin, and I guess I gotta go to the grocery store tomorrow.
Yes, you do. We'll see you guys this Friday. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.